Hey friends, welcome back to the Apocalypse Homestead. My name is Kratos. About to take you into the Apocalypse Garden here. In the last video, by the way, I said I was going to do the animals in my next video. I lied, sorry. This is gotta show you the garden first, of course. But in the last video, I said that the compost system was the heart and soul of your homestead. Especially if you're trying to be off-grid like I am, because you're not off-grid if you have animals, if you got to buy the feed at the feed store. You know, it's one thing if you have, if you know somebody local who makes it and it's local and it's available. But when the shit goes down, if you're buying your feed from Tractor Supply, you're not going to have feed and you're not going to have animals. You're not going to have eggs. So if you're growing food for your animals, like I'm about to tell you about, if you're growing food for yourself, you can't do that if you can't fertilize your garden. And that's another thing. If the grid goes down, you're not going to have feed for your animals, you're not going to have fertilizer for your garden, you're not going to be able to grow. Eventually your soil is going to turn to dirt and nothing's going to grow in it. You have to put back in what you take out. So that's why the compost system is important. That's the heart and soul of the garden, of the homestead. And the garden is especially this one is my gemstone of the homestead. Not only did I want to make something that is functional, highly productive, highly abundant, but I wanted to make I wanted not out of ego, you know, but I mean, I watch homestead videos on YouTube almost every day, and I wanted to make a garden that was among the most aesthetically pleasing gardens that there are, and I think I've done that. So have a look around here. You see that this is all made out of tree trunks that I cut down. We had a few trees and large branches that the electric company cut down to make the easement for my power lines, and I used a lot of those. But mostly all of this was done by me with a chainsaw and a rope and a broad fork and a stirrup hoe and a bed preparation rake. There's 15 100 square foot beds. If you line these trees up end to end, it would span 20 feet short of 3 football fields. It would be 880 feet. There's 3 feet in a yard. There's 100 yards in a football field. Do the math, guys. There's a lot of trees. It's a lot of work. But this is kind of the epitome of the urgent, radical action that I'm telling you guys that is needed to even have a chance of surviving what's coming. I did all this in 11 months. And now, if you've got an extra pair of hands, hopefully, if you've got help, if you've got machinery, a track hoe, a skid steer, a tractor, this could be done much quicker. But even if, you know, like, I keep telling people time is so short. You have so little time left, and then it becomes daunting. Like, how do you do all this in a short amount of time? And then you get curled up in an emotional fetal position and just are crippled, you know, in an action. But I did this in 11 months, guys, and I did it working a 40-hour-a-week job, and I go to the gym 8 hours a week, and I still was able to do it. And the biggest factor in doing that was just the knowledge that the time is short and that it had to be done quickly. It had to be done urgently. It had to be set up, you know, with a quickness, because time is indeed short. But I was able to do it. I was able to do it in less than a year. So if you understand the urgency of the problem, then don't be, you know, crippled into inaction. Don't curl up in an emotional fetal position because it's so daunting. You can do it even if you're by yourself. Buy a chainsaw. Keep it running well, which I didn't do, unfortunately. The last 3 beds I had to Paul Bunyan with the axe completely. But you can actually do this in a short period of time. And I'm not even talking about a garden. And I'm not even sure that this is a garden bed. I'm not even sure that this garden has to be this big for the things that I want to do. I just wanted to make sure, and half of me still thinks I didn't make it big enough, but I wanted to make sure, especially if I'm growing feed for my animals, But I also want to have a side hustle going at the farmer's market while, while things are still relatively stable. I wanted to make sure I had enough, but to realistically just grow enough vegetables for your family, you probably only need about 400 or 500 square feet, if that. Especially if you grow bio-intensively, which is something that I'm going to get into in future videos about. This is, how I do these beds typically. Whereas bio-intensive basically just means the only inputs that you're putting in is your own compost that you produce on site, seeds and water, basically. So this bed, you can kind of see, still has the, I got tarps over it just to kill whatever grass is left, which I usually do before I make the bed, but I made these last beds so quickly that I wasn't able to kill the grass back with the tarps. So I still got some grass in there, but these beds are broad forked 4 times, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down 4 times. Then typically I will add compost and broad fork it in again, but if you watch the compost video, I ran out of compost, so I had to buy some at Home Depot. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But I'm mostly just adding compost to the subsoil, just to dilute the clay content a little bit so that it compacts a lot less. You can see I broad forked this 4 times, and immediately after broad forking, if I had stepped in it, I would have sank a good ways. But now I can just walk on it like it's regular dirt. It's a little bit soft, but it's a lot less compacted than it was, but it's still compacting again with all the rain and everything. So I'm going to add some compost to it, broad fork it again, and then I'll put the topsoil over top of it. These beds I put topsoil on prematurely just because I couldn't wait. I'm like a kid, Christmas time, I like to see the beds that are done. But now these beds are exposed to the elements. They are eroding nutrients with the sunlight and the wind. These are losing nutrients. I shouldn't have done it. And plus my cats are just using it as a litter box. And they're kind of lucky I love them because I don't want to murder them. But so all of these beds running in this direction are for annuals. You can see my fall winter garden. By the way, up until November, this is all I had. This bed, these 5 beds here were all I had in November, because that's when I planted my garlic and my alliums. I got onions and leeks down there, garlic. So this is much I had in November, and then from November to February, I did all of this. So I had 5 beds, and then I did 10 more beds in half the time that it took me to do these 5 beds. So that's because I was making these beds in the summertime when I would probably have a heat stroke after 5 minutes of broad forking. It was terrible. So it took me like 3 weeks to make 1 bed. Then once it started cooling down, I was banging out 3 beds a week. During my Christmas vacation, I made 6 beds in 1 week. So that was pretty badass. So here in the fall winter garden, you see my allium beds, and then I've got Scarlet Kale, and I want to give you a close look at the Scarlet Kale that I got from Baker Creek. It's really beautiful, really delicious. And I've got Brussels sprouts, I've got broccoli, more Scarlet Kale, I've got collards, mustard greens, I've got some lettuce over here, I've got red Russian kale, I've got an Asian green that I got for free from Baker Creek called Komatsuna, which is really good. So yeah, that's what I got growing in the fall winter garden. And then I've got a bunch of different types of tomatoes, different squashes. I've got 3 trays of 36 cells green peas that I'm growing for the chickens. So for my chickens, you might be able to see here, I've got barley. This grass looking stuff is barley. Today over here I planted quinoa. And I've got the green peas. In the summertime when it gets hotter, I'll plant field peas, like purple whole peas. Those are warm weather peas. They're high in protein. And I've also got amaranth, Malay, Hopi black dye sunflowers, buckwheat. I think I've got more than that for the chickens, but I'm going to be growing all that. And I got flaxseed for the chickens. So I'm going to see how much feed I can grow for the chickens and the quail, and then see if I need to scale it up, which I probably will. But I probably have enough to do that for the chickens. At some point, I just won't be able to grow extra food for the farmers market. So that's the plan. And with these beds, these are my annual beds. Back over here at the back here, you can't really see them too well because they died back with the freezes. But along the line here, we have 15 Moringa trees, and this is north. So when they grow up, they'll cast shadows that way and won't block the garden any. But Moringa is a superfood, and it's more of a tropical warm weather tree. It doesn't handle freezes, which we will get here, even though I'm in southern Mississippi. I'm in the deep south. It gets really, really hot in the summertime. But in the wintertime, especially this winter, we've had a lot of deep freezes. And we still have more to come, unfortunately. It's February 21st, I believe. Or February 20th. We still have more freezes in the forecast. So they'll die back, but the roots will stay alive. And in the spring, when it gets really warm, it'll start sprouting back up again. And I don't know if you can see these down here. These little green plants are pineapple guava. I've got 7 of those. I was going to do this whole row of pineapple guava, but that's a lot of pineapple guava. I got 2 blueberry bushes over here, and then I'm going to fill some more of this space between the blueberry and the pineapple guava with some goji berry. If I can find them, I might have to buy the seeds from Baker Creek, unfortunately, and start from seed. But by the way, I use tarps to, like I mentioned earlier, the tarps, it's called stale seed bedding. You get the garden bed prepared like you're about to plant it. You broad fork it and rake it real good, and then you water it down real good, and then you put the tarp over it so that when the weed seeds sprout up, they're smothered by the tarp. And then when you pull the tarp out, I can't do that. I got it stapled down, but you'll have really, really nice soil, and you can just plant in it, and you'll have less weeds. It won't be weed free, but you'll have less weeds. So these beds running along perpendicular to the fence line here are going to be for mostly perennials. This is my herb garden. I haven't planted anything here yet, but I've got lemongrass, I've got tulsi, I've got a whole Ayurvedic seed collection from Strictly Medicinal, which I highly recommend. It's got ashwagandha, it's got the tulsi, it's got lemongrass, it's got a Bodhi tree. It's got like 7 different types of ashwagandha, or I keep saying ashwagandha, Ayurveda medicinal herbs. I've got echinacea, I've got calendula. Done my homework a little bit. I'm still kind of dabbling in the whole medicinal herb thing, so, but hopefully I'll learn a lot this year. So that's what this bed's going to be for. Hopefully a lot of those are perennial. I know echinacea is. This bed here in the center, this smaller bed, is asparagus. I can already see them popping up really good. All the ones I planted are popping up. I won't be able to eat them for a couple of years, of course, but there are 15 Mary Washington and 15 Jersey Giant asparagus in this bed, so hopefully that's enough asparagus to feed my family. I love asparagus, and I'm gonna miss it, but if it does well, I'll have some at least. But this bed here is a little bit larger because it's for artichoke. Artichoke is a very, it needs a lot of space, so it's a little bit wider and it's a little bit longer. So I've got about 35 artichoke starts in the greenhouse that I'm going to be transplanting out as soon as possible because they're getting unhappy. I planted them a little too early. Usually right about now, it starts to get safer to transplant out into the garden. We're getting into late February, and it's still a month away from our average last frost date, but the last couple of winters we haven't had any frost beyond February at all. But like I said, we got one coming up next week for sure, so it's kind of getting impatient. But this bed here is not complete, but it's a longer bed, just because I just was filling up as much space as I can. But I ordered some Jerusalem artichokes, also known as sunchokes, from Gurney. They'll be arriving in April, and that is a sunflower. It produces really beautiful sunflowers, but it also produces a potato-like tuber that is very, very invasive. It's almost impossible to get rid of, and so it's a perfect thing to have in a survival type garden like this, because you almost can't get rid of it, and you almost can't kill it. So it'll come back year after year, and it's really delicious. I'm looking forward to eating it again. Just make sure if you get Jerusalem artichoke, make sure that you put it someplace where you don't mind it taking over, because it will take over. It's like, you know, a lot like mint or oregano. Excuse me. I just drank a bunch of coffee. So, yeah, that about covers the garden, guys. I mean, this is my my labor of love and insanity. I'm really proud of it. I really feel awesome when I'm in here. It's kind of like almost like a temple to the goddess or god of fertility. Whatever you want to say. I say that tongue-in-cheek kind of, but it's just like I said, I wanted to make this not only a place where I can grow a lot of food, and I can grow a lot of food here, but also a place that's you know, as aesthetically pleasing as almost any garden you're going to see on any YouTube channel, especially once we get the summer garden in here, and these fall plants will endure for a little while into the spring when everything else is growing, and it's just going to be a big giant patch of beautiful green abundance, I hope. So well, thank you for watching, and I'm going to go upload this video, and once that's done, I'll go do some yard work in the meantime, and once that's done uploading, I'll go video the animals that we have here, the quail, rabbits, and chickens, and show you what I got going on there, and that'll round out our homestead food production system here, our Apocalypse food production system here, and hopefully that gives you some inspiration and some ideas, and some motivation, and some hope. You know, like I said, I think a lot of people get crippled by how daunting this is, and it is. But the situation is urgent, and like I said, get some help if you can. If you've got kids that are teenagers or whatever, it'll be a lot easier to do. It'll go a lot quicker. But even if it's by yourself and you got the right motivation, I did this in 11 months, and not just this. I built a hoop coop. I built this rabbit shed. I built the chicken pen I'm about to show you. I dug 210 feet of trench line for water and power, going to my shed, going from my pump, from my power pole. I put up 900 feet of this welded wire fence all over the property. I built structures for my mail packages. I built a structure for my chickens to lay eggs in. I'll show you. I did a lot of work here, not just in this garden. And again, working 40 hours a week, working out 8 hours a week, I mean. And you know, and it's kind of weird because I don't have anything to do anymore except like casual yard maintenance right now. I mean, there's going to be a lot of work going on once the summer garden is in production. There's going to be a lot of weeding, a lot of harvesting, but you can do this. You can do this. So that's the main reason I'm actually back on YouTube and making these videos. So I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I need to get at least 1,000 subscribers so I can start making better videos. I'm not tech savvy, but YouTube kind of handicaps you when you don't have a lot of subscribers, which makes it harder to get subscribers because your videos are substandard. But whatever. Subscribe to my channel, and click like to this video if you liked it. Leave a comment, leave a criticism, have a conversation, ask questions. I'm here to help you guys. That's what I'm here for. I'm not just you know, I'm not just showing off. I'm doing this to help you. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you soon.